An emotional Rex Tillerson thanked everyone but the president, especially his State Department aides.
They have been extraordinarily dedicated to our mission, which includes promoting values that I view as being very important, which means treating each other with honesty and integrity and respect for one another.
Unlike Tillerson, CIA Director Mike Pompeo, a former Kansas congressman, graduate of West Point and Harvard Law, gets along famously with the president, having more FaceTime than almost anyone, delivering the daily intelligence briefing in person. If confirmed, Pompeo would give the State Department a fresh start. But would he be willing to challenge the volatile commander-in-chief, something that got Tillerson in trouble?
I am concerned about Mike Pompeo's hardline positions on a number of issues, such as on Iran, potentially even North Korea. And so he needs to, as Secretary of State, also stand up to the president.
And facing a May deadline on the Iran nuclear deal and the talks with Kim Jong-un, Pompeo will be home alone. Tillerson's legacy, a hollowed-out State Department, 38 key ambassadors not appointed, 16 vacancies as assistant secretaries, and all 6 undersecretaries will be vacant, including one fired today.
I think Pompeo is someone who understands the need to work on the morale of the organization he's leading, and I think in that sense it could be a welcome change.
The other big change, CIA veteran Gina Haspel, who would be the first woman to lead the agency, highly respected there, but as the former head of covert operations, likely facing a controversial confirmation because she carried out Bush White House orders to waterboard detainees in secret prisons. Just like Tillerson, Pompeo will have to share foreign policy duties with the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. But veteran diplomats believe that Pompeo will be much better at navigating the complicated politics of the Trump White House.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.